want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience for your love with a cold hard hatred. I could feel the vibration, feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Thanks for their disease. Just like a weed. October is an absolutely horrible month here on the East Coast. It seems like it's the same thing each and every single week, and Mother Nature just wants to be very, very cruel. Maybe because she does not like the truth that comes out of my mouth, just like a lot of people across the IWC. But regardless of that, that still does not change the fact that Saturday, you know what that means. We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to the greatest show on earth, as we are streaming live across 4 different platforms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different accounts. And we got a lot of good material to get into, just like we do every week here on the LFU. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle, No. Oh, hold on. Oh. Do you smell that? I hope my mic's coming in good, because we have a succulent smell. Yeah, oh yeah, I know. The mic's breaking again. Mic is breaking again. Please do not tell me that. Please do not tell me that, Final Hoss. I'm sick and tired of it. Hang on a minute. There we go. Hang on a minute. I'm listening to myself right here. The mic's not breaking. Let me try this again. Oh. Do you smell that? Did you hear that? Did you hear it that time? All right? Or do I need to lower the volume just a little bit? Do I need to lower the volume just a little bit, or did you hear it that time? Let me try this. There you go. Let me try that. See if that works. If it doesn't, we're going to have a little bit of a problem. Sick and tired of these technical difficulties. Anyway, you already know what that smell is. That is the smell of pure excellence, pure unadulterated, raw excellence. You already know what's coming next. Wait for it. Wait for it. To Mankind. It broke up during its Saturday. Unbelievable. Let's try that again. It's Saturday. Did it break that time? Unbelievable. Breaking left and right. You're damn right, Adam. I do have a better intro than The Rock.
I have to take a sip of my ice water already. Unbelievable. Anyway, you already know what today is. Today is the official Lightning Flash update for Saturday, October 21st, 2023. It is unbelievable that we are almost done with October. It's unbelievable. More than halfway through with October. Months and weeks and years are going by way too quickly. I'm going to be 25 in just 6 months. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that fact. It's unbelievable. But we're not here to talk about the future right now, because right now we have a lot to talk about in the present, considering what happened this week in the realm of professional wrestling. Thank you very much for stopping on by. Always appreciate everyone who takes time out of their Saturday afternoons to watch your boy DJ Shizzle Dizzle. Of course, we got Dylan, Adam Carl, the final hoss. Plenty more people that are going to be filing on in, as we got a nice wide outreach as per usual on a Saturday. But before we get into what we're going to get into, we have to go through the self-brand promotion, the advertisements. As always, make sure that you follow me on social media, specifically on X and Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. Once again, that is at HistoryMakerDJS, both on X and Instagram. You can also add me on my personal Facebook for collaborations and business inquiries. Please make sure that you send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. You can also like the official DJ Storms business page, which we are live on right now. And I made you send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook, which we are also live on right now. Like I said, very wide outreach. Of course, I need to shout out some sponsorships, including my girl, Brittany K. Shout out to her. She's a wonderful woman, very down-to-earth individual, and a big supporter of the brand, very good friend of mine. She does beautifully crafted designs and drawings from scratch on her iPad of various pro wrestlers from various different promotions, and she even does X-Avies and banners. So if you guys are looking for a new X-Avie banner, or if you guys are looking for a great design, a great drawing on an iPad of a professional wrestler, whichever one that you may like, go and hit her up. Her X account is Brittany K 5150, while her Instagram account is Brittany K Designs. Shout out to Jay Leto of PWP Nation. We are currently live on the PWP Nation Facebook page right now. And last Saturday with World of Wrestling Episode 2, me and Jay, we killed it. I actually thought it was better than our first episode back in September. So if you guys are looking for some quality wrestling analytics, some good banter as well, go check out World of Wrestling Episode number 2. It is currently up on my channel, the PWP Nation YouTube channel. It streamed live on the PWP Nation Facebook page and my DJ Storms Posse Facebook page as well. Please go and check it out if you missed it. You will not regret it. And I was educating Jay Leto quite a bit. He clearly does not know how to speak objectively, but fortunately for everyone, I do. Of course, I do have to shout out one more sponsorship, that being Corporate Information System, a beautiful, beautiful way to help everyone find themselves a career. Beautiful team of recruiters over there. So if you guys are looking to help advance your career, please go and check out CIS Recruiters, corporateinformationsystem.com, at www.cisrecruiters.com. Once again, www.cisrecruiters.com. They will be placing a lot of talent where it can thrive. If you guys are looking for a job, contact my friends over at CIS Recruiters. They are your people. Please make sure that you like the stream no matter where you're watching it from, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or X. We got that nice wide outreach. Like I've said numerous amounts of times, we're live on the Hardcore Sports media pages as well. So please make sure that you like the stream no matter where you're watching it from, because it helps me out. It also helps out the Hardcore Sports brand and the PWP Nation brand. So please make sure you like the stream and share it out on all platforms of social media, whether it be X, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, whatever social media platforms that you may be using, because it helps expand the horizon. And we want to get as many people in here as possible, because everybody needs a little dose of DJ Shizzle Bizzle, because it's a known fact. I make people's lives better. That's just the law of the land over here. Of course, be sure, if you're watching on my YouTube channel or the Hardcore Sports YouTube channel, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And when you do, you got to hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you're going to know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, oh, baby, it is the absolute best time to be on YouTube. It is the only time that you are going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. Hold on. I think I got it somewhere in here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. It's this beautifully crafted, magical ace black comb. Hold on. I got a blow on it. It is sizzling just like me. And we're going to light it up right here. Light it up right here. Light it up right here on the Lightning Flash update with a little bit of and a dash of and a whole lot of because like a freshly made Brooklyn-style pizza, extra cheesy with some grilled chicken fajitas, I am just so good. I am the tastiest snack in the IWC, and you already know that everyone wants a piece of the Storm's Meister. It's a known fact. Anyway, enough of the self-brand promotion, the advertisements. What do you say we get straight into the festivities here on the LFU? We got a lot of news, a lot of rumors to dissect, including the report that says there are currently no plans for The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. We're going to go over why it's a great thing and why it should have never even been in the plans to begin with following WrestleMania 38. Let's start off with the news, rumors, and reports. And I know I can count on Dylan to let me know if my mic is acting up again, but thus far we seem to be okay. Let's talk about our first report. According to SportsSkeeda and multiple other sources, the TKO CEO, Ari Emanuel, stated that he is indeed open to moving Monday Night Raw off of Mondays. So it could be Tuesday Night Raw, it could be Wednesday Night Raw, it could be Friday Night Raw, whatever it may be. Normally I would really dive into this and really get into it like I would normally do with a WWE report and say how this is bad and that is bad. And there are some negatives to this. Don't get me wrong. There are some cons to this. But truth be told, I honest to God would not mind if Raw moved off of Mondays. It's just a very, very slippery slope. Like, where would you put Monday Night Raw on? Tuesdays? Wednesdays? Are you really going to have Monday Night Raw move to Wednesdays just to try and counter-program AEW Dynamite? Now, Mondays are going to be free. That'll give the people a little bit of a rest during the week because there is just so much wrestling to consume, and there's really no other wrestling on Monday but Raw. But it's going to be very, very difficult to see Monday Night Raw move off of Mondays just because of how much of an establishment Monday Night Raw has built itself to be, specifically on Mondays. And they're trying to move it off of Mondays because they don't want to have to deal with Monday Night Football. But then it really got me thinking if this is just a red herring. It really got me thinking if this is just a red herring. What if, with next year and the fact that WWE is going to be moving back from Fox with SmackDown, they're going to be moving back to the USA Network, and we could very well go back to where we were in 2017, 2018, 2019, and SmackDown is ultimately going to be on Tuesdays again. It's not going to be live on Fridays anymore. It's going to be Tuesday night SmackDown. What happens to NXT? It could move to Wednesdays. So we could very well have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday schedule for WWE, and then if they want to, they could do a house show on Thursday or a house show on Friday, and then we could very well have a break, in a sense, over the weekend. We could very well have a break over the weekend with WWE. They may not do as many house shows, and then ultimately, that's going to make an easier schedule for WWE in the long run. So even though he said Raw is open to moving from Mondays, I think we have heard this report more than once, and it never really came to fruition. So I am not really too concerned about this report just because of the fact that WWE has a big decision to make next year when Raw and SmackDown are under the same banner once again. SmackDown is going to be off of Fox, and SmackDown is ultimately going to be with NXT and Raw. They're all going to be on the same network. USA Network is going to own all WWE programming. So it would not surprise me if we do see SmackDown move from Fridays back to Tuesdays, because they actually had better ratings on Tuesdays than they did on Fridays at some point. Now, as far as Monday Night Raw moving off of Mondays, I honest to God don't know where it would go. Maybe SmackDown stays on Fridays when they move back to the USA Network. Maybe Raw moves to Wednesdays, or maybe Raw moves to Tuesdays and NXT ultimately goes back to Wednesdays. I don't know. I honest to God don't know. Right now, it is a very difficult situation to predict. I don't know where WWE's head is at, because for me personally, it came as a major shock that Ari Emanuel removed Vince McMahon from creative power and bestowed all that responsibility on Triple H. And you can imagine Vince McMahon is not too happy about that whatsoever. Now, I am a little apprehensive about that. It almost feels like it's too good to be true, but I'm going to wait and see what happens as far as that goes. But as far as Raw moving off of Mondays, I don't know. Even though Ari Emanuel said it, I just can't see it happening. However, one thing I can see happening is the return of Randy Orton. There has been some videos and photos going around over the course of the last couple of months. Randy Orton was seen at the Performance Center down in Orlando, presumably training to get back into the ring. Fightful Select has actually learned that WWE has been planning to have Randy Orton back on WWE TV by Survivor Series. So if Randy Orton is going to return by Survivor Series, now the question is, what exactly is Randy Orton going to do upon his return? That's the one question that I've been asking. It is clear as day where WWE wants to go for WrestleMania. WWE has been trying to get The Rock and Roman Reigns for WrestleMania forever. How you doing, Dee? How you doing, Courtney? Thank you very much for stopping on by. It's been well established that WWE has been trying to get The Rock on WrestleMania to fight Roman Reigns for God knows how long now. Ever since Roman Reigns became the Undisputed Universal Champion back during the pandemic in August of 2020. But The Rock does not seem to be all that invested in coming on in and fighting Roman Reigns. That's where Cody Rhodes kind of swoops in. But if Cody Rhodes is going to fight Roman Reigns, how willing is WWE to go forth with that plan and have Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns like he should have earlier this year at WrestleMania? We all thought that it was going to finally come to an end this year at WrestleMania, and WWE, they just poured on top of the already overwhelming fetish that they have with Roman Reigns. Survivor Series seems to be one of the biggest events of the year, And not because of a Randy Orton return, but because there has been innuendos and hints and rumors going around that CM Punk could very well make his way back to the WWE. And at this point, there's a part of me that would be shocked if he doesn't show up. Although there is a little Easter egg that has been thrown out there in the open regarding Impact Wrestling, and we'll talk about Impact Wrestling in just a little bit. First time I've ever talked about Impact Wrestling probably since 2021. That's when AEW had the partnership with it. But as far as Randy Orton coming back, there's only two scenarios that I can honestly see Randy Orton going into. The only two scenarios that would really make sense for Randy Orton to go into upon his return is a program with Cody Rhodes or a feud with Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. There's nothing else. Randy Orton's return is imminent. But what is he going to do? What exactly is Randy Orton going to do? If Randy Orton manages to make his return at Survivor Series, the only two individuals that I can honestly see him feuding with is Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins. And if anything, Cody Rhodes kind of makes more sense because you're not going to put him against Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship because Seth Rollins should not be losing. Seth Rollins should not be losing right now because he is on a roll as the World Heavyweight Champion. This is his best world title reign of his career. And Gunther should be the one that should be fighting Rollins at WrestleMania. If Randy Orton fights Seth Rollins, how are you going to have Randy Orton lose upon his return? The bad part about this, the downside about this, is the fact that Cody Rhodes is going to have to suffer through more adversity just to get to Roman Reigns. And with CM Punk coming back, it seems as though Punk and Roman would be the ideal match for WrestleMania if The Rock doesn't show up. So Cody Rhodes is going to get shafted again, and he's ultimately going to get put in a feud with Randy Orton. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to keep my eye on this. I'm going to keep my eye on this because I'm genuinely curious to see what Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes are going to do going into WrestleMania. Simply because of the fact that if Randy Orton comes back, there's really no one else but Rollins and Cody. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Randy Orton is on Raw. Unless they do want to put him on SmackDown. Unless Nick Aldis makes the return of bringing Randy Orton back to SmackDown and we get Randy Orton and Roman Reigns at Survivor Series or maybe the Royal Rumble next year. Now, that would honestly make sense because we haven't seen that match, especially not with this version of Roman. We'll see. We'll see. Rhea Ripley. We all know how good Rhea Ripley is, but Rhea Ripley apparently has been named the #1 women's wrestler in the world by Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 250 women's list. Now, I've had some choice words to say about this. I had some choice words to say about Seth Rollins being Pro Wrestling Illustrated's #1 as well for the men. But I do have some choice words about this with Rhea Ripley. I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying. I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that Rhea Ripley isn't great. I really don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying and try and paint the picture that DJ Storms is hating on Rhea Ripley. I have been a Rhea Ripley advocate ever since her days in NXT UK when she became the first ever NXT UK women's champion. She's great. She's awesome. No one's going to deny that. And if you deny that, you're an idiot. But the problem that I have is when you take a look at Rhea Ripley's year, and while she has been, in a sense, she's probably been the MVP of Monday Night Raw. I'm not even lying. She may very well have been the MVP overall for Monday Night Raw all throughout the last year. She's got her thing going with the Judgment Day. She's easily the best character in that women's division. No one's going to deny that. But when you take a look at her run, what has she done that has been memorable. I genuinely want you to think she's great. She's great. The best character in the division. Many people could argue that she's the only character in the women's division for WWE. But what has she done? What has she done? I can only name you 2 memorable things that she did in the last year. While she's a great character, while she's a great wrestler, I can only name you 2 standout moments this year for Rhea Ripley. She won the Royal Rumble after drawing number 1, and she had probably the best women's match of the year, and maybe the best women's match in WrestleMania history with Charlotte Flair. Outside of that, I can't name you one memorable thing that Rhea Ripley has done in the last year. Her aura and her character has made her what she is today. Her in-ring ability is great, but has she been given the ball to run with it from an in-ring perspective? The answer is no. Look at her women's title reign. Well, what about her women's title reign has screamed to anyone that she deserves to be the number 1 woman? I understand it's based on kayfabe, but at least try and make it a little bit more believable. Rhea Ripley has had probably one of the most lackluster, one of the most unmemorable championship reigns in recent memory. I guarantee you, no one even remembers a single title defense that she has had. Now, I remember all of her title defenses because I have a great memory, but in terms of quality, the only title defense that she has actually had that has really risen up to be a great match, the only title defense that she had that turned into a great match was that match with Natalya on the July 3rd edition of Monday Night Raw over the summer. Outside of that, every single match that she has had has been completely forgettable. We should get a decent match at Crown Jewel with this Fatal 5-Way that we got going on. I don't expect Rhea Ripley to lose, even though she should, because she hasn't done anything with the title. I would give the title to Shayna Baszler. Screw it. I would, honest to God, I would give the title to Shayna Baszler. But at the end of the day, Rhea Ripley's probably going to retain. But when it's all said and done, Rhea Ripley's title reign has pretty much been an afterthought. Ripley's title reign has been an afterthought. The Judgment Day group as a whole has been more of a focus than the Women's Championship. WWE has completely neglected the Women's Championship. It's kind of hard to have a memorable year when you're fighting Natalya and Raquel Rodriguez in lackluster matches. It's kind of hard to have a memorable year when you barely get a 7-minute match with Zelina Vega at Backlash. It's very hard to have a memorable year when you're feuding with Nia Jax. She's a woman that a lot of people would like to forget is even employed by the WWE. You take a look at everything that she's done, she has done nothing memorable. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, look at what Athena's been doing. Athena had a great match with Mercedes Martinez, and she won the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. She's been defending it consistently against the likes of Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, Kiera Hogan, Allison Kay, Layla Hirsch, and every single woman that Athena steps into the ring with, she gives said individuals their best match to date. Yuka Sakazaki and many, many others. Diamante. The list goes on and on. She main evented. She became the first woman ever to main event a Ring of Honor pay-per-view over the summer. Her and Willow Nightingale absolutely killed it. She made Willow Nightingale into a star. She's also held the title longer than Rhea Ripley, and she's defended it more than Rhea Ripley. And on top of that, she is running through everyone. They're giving her new challengers. They're continuing to build on her championship title reign. And on top of that, they're actually giving her title reign story. The story with Willow Nightingale and how those two are fighting over pride and how they fought all the way to the main event of a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Storylines with Billy Starks and what they're doing right now, with Mercedes Martinez and how Athena wants people to come to her. She wants people to come to her so that way she can put them down. She welcomes the competition. She welcomes the competition. Meanwhile, Rhea Ripley isn't even paying any attention to her title reign. The title is essentially a prop on Rhea Ripley. I understand that it's kayfabe, but Pro Wrestling Illustrated, outside of 2021, because that's when Kenny Omega won the #1 male performer of the year. Outside of 2021, Pro Wrestling Illustrated is just a WWE bias brand. They really are. They take nothing else into account. And the only reason why Jamie Hayter and Athena are on the top 10 is because they had to put them on the top 10. They had to put them on the top 10, and they had to acknowledge them, because if they didn't acknowledge them, at least in the top 10, then they would lose more credibility than they already have. Whatever little credibility that they have, they would lose it. I don't care what anyone says. Rhea Ripley's not #1. Top 5? Sure, you can make the argument top 5. #1? Hell no. Hell no. You cannot look at me with a straight face and tell me that Rhea Ripley's had the most memorable year. And then what to make matters worse, people want to come out here and justify this with, well, Rhea Ripley's, her matches are viewed by millions of people around the world, and the Ring of Honor's performing in arenas that are 25% empty. Are you this stupid? When did ratings and ticket sales become a factor in determining objective quality? How much money has movies in 2023 made? Let me give you an example right here. Let's say that we had Jurassic Park, right? Jurassic Park and whatever Jurassic Park series are going on, and how there's been so many movies that have just added to the Jurassic Park film series, right? How much money did the modern day Jurassic Parks make? The Jurassic World. How much money did they make? They made a lot of money. I've seen the analytics. They made a lot of money. But how many people say that they are the best movies out of the bunch? 0. Majority of people, or at least the intelligent people, go out of their way and they say that the first one was the best, which it was. Or a burger. If you are going to a restaurant and you want to order a burger, and they claim that it's one of the best burgers that you'll ever have, and you go out of your way and say, oh, well, I haven't heard of it. I don't hear everyone else on the streets talking about it. So you know what? It probably isn't that good to begin with. You don't need to hear what a burger is like in order to determine if it's the best burger. You don't need everyone on the planet to see the burger in order to determine that it's the best burger in the town. All you need to do is taste it. It doesn't matter how many eyes or how many ears are on the burger. It matters what the burger tastes like. And I'm sorry, but Rhea Ripley, that burger tastes like crap. Rhea Ripley's year, minus winning the Royal Rumble and minus beating Charlotte at WrestleMania, has been completely unmemorable. Meanwhile, Athena is doing what Rhea Ripley realistically should be doing. They're doing Rhea Ripley better with Athena than WWE is doing Rhea Ripley with Rhea Ripley. I'm sorry to tell you, but when it comes to the best women's wrestler on the planet, it is Athena. It is not Rhea Ripley. Top 5, sure. You can make the argument top 3 too. But #1, no. I'm sorry. I actually got some good news here. Serena Deeb, according to Fightful Select, was backstage at the AEW Collision tapings last Saturday, October 13th. Now, this is actually very interesting, seeing as last time we talked about Serena Deeb, she actually had a falling out with AEW management over a disagreement, and the details were not disclosed. But if she was backstage during last Saturday's tapings, you know what? I think that right there is a wonderful, and I mean a wonderful, wonderful thing to hear, because I'm telling you, Serena Deeb, she is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best women's wrestlers on the planet. If anything, Serena Deeb, I would have made the argument that Serena Deeb should have beaten Mercedes Martinez back at Death Before Dishonor 2022 to win the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. But then again, I am very, very happy that Athena got the rub, and Athena is killing it right now with the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. But as far as Serena Deeb goes, Serena Deeb is a woman that has risen to prominence, and she has become easily one of the most valuable assets to the AEW women's division that they've had. And the fact that she is not on TV over whatever disagreement took place, that's a crime. Tony Khan may be producing great television, but the man's not perfect. The man clearly has some things he needs to work out, and one of the things he needs to work out is good communication with his employees. Serena Deeb needs to be on TV, and I hope to God that since she was backstage, this is going to be the gateway to getting her back on television. Because if she gets back on television, we may very well have our next TBS champion. When Kris Statlander gets done doing what she's doing with the TBS title, which I'm assuming that she'll probably wrap up what she's doing towards the end of the year, maybe going into next year, I would honestly do it at Revolution if you ask me. Give me Serena Deeb versus Kris Statlander at AEW Revolution for the TBS championship. And give Serena Deeb the championship. That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm building this up. Because Serena Deeb, I'm telling you, you want to build on what Kris Statlander's doing, because right now, Kris Statlander has made the TBS championship more prestigious than the AEW Women's World Championship. And I don't even know how that's possible. If Serena Deeb was backstage at the Collision tapings last Saturday, and she could very well be on her way back, there is no doubt in my mind that she should be the next TBS champion. I was actually kind of pissed off that we did not get Serena Deeb versus Jade Cargill when Jade Cargill was still there. But now that Serena Deeb is on her way back, hopefully, cross my fingers, you have your matchup for Revolution next year. Revolution next year, it is Serena Deeb, Kris Statlander, TBS championship, and Serena Deeb takes that championship, builds on what Kris Statlander did with it, and Kris Statlander can move up to the Women's World Championship title scene. Serena Deeb is way too good to be sitting in the back, wasting away. She has risen to prominence, and she is undoubtedly one of the best assets to that AEW women's division. She should be your next TBS champion. No excuses. Sticking with AEW here, this actually came out a few days ago. Fightful Select, they confirmed that Adam Copeland, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler all filed for individual trademarks for the term Rated FTR on Wednesday, October 18th. Now, that is something that I can definitely get behind. Based on the history of FTR and Adam Copeland and how it was FTR that helped train Adam Copeland to get back into the ring, that right there makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense for FTR and Adam Copeland to be tied together, and maybe that could lead to a potential Trios Championship match down the line, depending on who the Trios Champions are. If anything, I would honest to God love if we see the Blackpool Combat Club or Bullet Club Gold win the AEW World Trios Championships from the Acclaimed, and then maybe we could very well see FTR and Adam Copeland versus Bullet Club Gold or Blackpool Combat Club, and they win the Trios Championships. That would definitely be something. That would definitely be something that I'm sure a lot of people would love to see, if you ask me. So I'll keep my eye on that, but that is certainly an intriguing report there, and I look forward to seeing what they do. Ringside News. Ringside News, they actually reached out and they asked about AJ Styles and his current WWE status. They were told that AJ Styles is not injured. Some people were thinking that AJ Styles was injured. He is not injured. This is all part of a storyline. And for those of you that do not watch SmackDown or you missed it, this all played up to the storyline leading up to Fastlane, where Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa attacked AJ Styles backstage when AJ Styles was supposed to be John Cena's partner at Fastlane a few weeks ago. The site was told by a tenured member of WWE Creative, AJ Styles will be back soon. And if that's the case, I'm assuming that we are going to be having ourselves a match with AJ Styles and Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view or premium live event, whatever you want to call it. I don't understand why you didn't just build that match for Crown Jewel. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the SmackDown portion of the review, because all I see is people jumping for joy and jerking WWE's penis off, saying how, oh my God, this is going to be such a great match. Oh my God, we're going to have LA Knight and Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Meanwhile, they're ignoring the obvious flaw that's going to inevitably come on November 4th. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the SmackDown portion of the review. But again, I don't understand why you didn't just do AJ Styles and Roman at Crown Jewel. Would have made a lot more sense. Speaking of LA Knight, Bet Online AG actually reported that LA Knight is currently one of the betting favorites, along with The Rock, to win the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble. Now, I am not going to take this as credible as I would normally take someone like a Fightful or a Ringside News or a Meltzer or a PW Insider, simply because of the fact that betting online, they're not as on the money as you would normally think they are. They're not on the money because they've predicted The Rock to win the last 3 Royal Rumbles. They predicted The Rock to win the last 3 Royal Rumbles. If anything, I actually thought that they once predicted Sami Zayn to win the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble earlier this year. So I'm not really sure why anyone would take this as credible. But if you're asking me, and we're going to mention this when we talk about SmackDown, the only way that I would be okay with an LA Knight loss at Crown Jewel is if he is built up to win the Royal Rumble. And even then, there are some flaws to go along with that plan, which we will talk about. But this is a big report here. This is actually a big report right here. According to Ibu, now I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Ibu, I don't know how he pronounces his name. He's probably watching this on Twitter right now. He's probably kicking and punching the air. DJ Storms, how could you mispronounce my name? I'm sorry, dude. This is why I'm not an English major. I'm an accounting major. And I'm an accountant. I'm not an English teacher. I'm sorry. But Ibu, whatever the hell you want to, I sound like what's his name? What's his name? Peter something from Young Frankenstein. You must be Igor. No, it's pronounced Igor. But they told me it was Igor. Well, they were wrong then, weren't they? I'm quoting Gene Wilder on the stream. Ibu, whatever you want to call him. He's from Wrestle Purists. He's actually one of the very, very, very few people in this community. Very, very, very few people in this community that I actually don't have a problem with. So I guess he can hold that accolade high above his head. He's one of the few people in the community that I don't have a problem with. So he reported that CM Punk apparently received a contract offer from Impact Wrestling, although it is currently unknown what Punk's response was. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful actually followed up on this report by noting that, and I quote, Impact would welcome CM Punk to the company. Now, do I believe that he was offered a contract? Do I believe that Punk was offered a contract? I don't know. I honest to God do not know. It's rather out of the blue. Because let's be honest right here. Impact is a dead brand. Impact is a dead brand. They are doing whatever they possibly can to cling on to whatever little relevancy that they still have. However, PW Insider recently came out with a report regarding Ace Steel. Ace Steel is actually in Chicago, and he will be working Impact's Bound for Glory pay-per-view as a producer. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the Bound for Glory pay-per-view is tonight. So if he is working Impact's Bound for Glory pay-per-view tonight as a producer, Impact reportedly wanted to bring him in before AEW swooped him up. I don't know. Could that very well be a means of Ace Steel going in there to test the waters for CM Punk? Could it very well be a means of Ace Steel going in there as the feeling out man to see how Impact Wrestling really is backstage? And he could very well be the deciding factor to see if Punk may go to Impact. But then again, when you think about it, I mean, CM Punk himself is worth more than Impact Wrestling as a whole. Impact Wrestling is a trash brand. It's an undercard scrub brand. Not because they have a terrible roster. Their roster is great. They have some of the best wrestlers in the world on that roster. Josh Alexander, I'm a mega advocate for Josh Alexander. He is undoubtedly one of the best wrestlers on the planet. And his run as the Impact World Heavyweight Champion was great. I take nothing away from that man. But despite a great roster, they have terrible management. How many individuals have gone to Impact and everyone has thought to themselves, oh man, Impact's going to get back to where it was in the mid-2000s. No, those days are over. Impact will never get back to where it was in the mid-2000s. Impact Wrestling is they're the cockroach of professional wrestling. They are the cockroach wrestling company of the industry. They will never go away. They will never go away. You want to talk about three things that will survive a nuclear explosion: Twinkies, cockroaches, and Impact Wrestling. It has one of the best women's divisions in the world. Maybe the best women's division in the world. No one's going to deny that either. But the management sucks. The creative booking of the show is terrible. I watched Impact one time, and I was watching it, and I just could not bring myself to watch anything, and I could not enjoy anything, minus maybe one or two matches, because the majority of matches on the show were booked horribly. Some matches weren't even given enough time. The wrong people won the matches. We had these nonsensical stories that made absolutely no sense. The best story that Impact has told in recent memory was when Kenny Omega won the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship from Rich Swann at Rebellion in 2021. That was the best storyline that Impact had. And even then, if Kenny Omega, who is, without a shadow of a doubt, arguably one of the best wrestlers on the planet today, and he will go down as one of the greatest of all time, if Kenny Omega, an individual who is an immensely better wrestler than CM Punk, if he could not bring Impact back to prominence, what makes you think that Punk's going to do it? Honest to God, what makes you think that Punk is going to do it? I love Punk. I do. Don't get me wrong. I love Punk. I think he's great, but despite having the ego problem, I think that if Ace Steel says it's good, I think that Ace Steel will kind of calm Punk down a little bit, and Punk would be a little bit more open to working with Impact. But even if Punk does, do you honestly think that Impact is going to benefit from it? No. Impact will never get back to where it was. Impact will always stay in the same position that it is right now. And on top of that, if you think about it, is CM Punk even allowed to talk contract obligations with anyone? Is he on a non-compete clause? Because last time I checked, I believe he made a joke towards the end of September saying that he can't really do anything for the next 2 months. So to me, that just came off that, okay, he's on a non-compete clause. If CM Punk is going anywhere, he's going to go to the WWE. Now, I would be both shocked and I would not be shocked at the same time. It would make Punk look like a hypocrite, but it would be a great moment. It would present a scenario where, well, what's going to happen with Punk now? Do you honestly think that he is going to be okay with where he is? Because if he's brought back to WWE, the logical choice would be for him to beat Roman. What happens when Punk doesn't get what he wants in WWE? He's going to do the same thing that he did the last time that he was in WWE. But there's a better chance of Punk going to WWE than there is to Impact, because there is a lot of money. There's a lot of money that is being left on the table if CM Punk does not come back into the WWE. He's going to be sitting pretty. He's going to be making a hell of a lot of money. He is going to be easily, by default, one of the biggest stars. He's going to be easily, by default, the face of the company, because Roman isn't there. Roman's never there. Roman never wrestles. But Punk will not. He will not help Impact. And it's very, very hard for me to believe that CM Punk would even consider Impact knowing where they are right now. It just seems like a desperation move by Impact. Now, granted, they got some balls to do it. They certainly have some balls to do it. But Punk going to Impact, it almost doesn't feel right. What's he going to do, wrestle in front of 600 people? He's going to go to the WWE, and he's going to make a return at Survivor Series. And WWE, at this point, is just profiting. They are profiting off of a rumor that Punk could potentially show up. But Ace Steel working as a producer in Impact, that does seem very, very intriguing. Could that be the gateway? Could that be the gateway for Punk to go to Impact? I don't know. We'll have to see. It's just very, very hard for me to even envision Punk in Impact. CM Punk, as we speak right now, he is not obligated to talk to anyone regarding contracts. If anything, I do believe he is on a no-compete clause. So how could CM Punk be offered a contract when he is not allowed to discuss any contractual obligations with anyone, especially considering that he's rumored to be on a no-compete clause? And when it comes to Impact, Punk's not going to help Impact. If anything, Punk is only going to be draining Impact of money, because ultimately, Impact is going to have someone that they cannot make an investment off of. No one, and I mean no one, will help Impact. But if Punk goes to WWE, knowing the history and knowing how many money matches are on the table with Punk in WWE, that right there is an easy victory for CM Punk. So it's really hard for me to even envision Punk going to Impact. But Ace Steel, I guess if Punk trusts Ace Steel, maybe he'll take Ace Steel's word. If he says that Impact is okay, then I guess he'll go. We got ourselves one more report, and then we're going to move on to the weekly show reviews. According to Sports Illustrated, can't even talk today. Sports Illustrated reported that there are currently no plans whatsoever for Roman Reigns versus The Rock to happen at WrestleMania 40. According to multiple sources close to WWE, the decision about the WrestleMania 40 main event will not be The Rock's to make, nor is the main event even a topic of substance. Even if the match was offered, it would not be a certainty that The Rock would accept. Now, ultimately, they could very well be playing us like fiddles, and The Rock could very well make a surprise return at the Royal Rumble, and The Rock could very well end up winning the whole Rumble. And he could end up going to fight Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Or maybe The Rock goes to the Chamber. There's rumors that The Rock could very well be in Perth, Australia for the Elimination Chamber. And if Rock is going to be at the Elimination Chamber, who's he going to face? Are they going to do Rock versus Roman at the Chamber? I mean, they're doing it in a huge stadium, right? If they're doing the Chamber in a huge stadium, then realistically speaking, you need a big-time money match to sell some tickets for that show. So it would only make sense if we get ourselves a match between The Rock and Roman Reigns. Maybe that's how we get it. And you know what? I will say this. I will say this. If Cody Rhodes goes to the Chamber and wins the Chamber, and at the Elimination Chamber, we get The Rock versus Roman, and then at WrestleMania, we get Cody versus Roman, I would actually not have a single problem with that at all. I would not have a single problem with that at all. However, when it comes to The Rock and Roman Reigns, this match not happening at WrestleMania 40, according to reports, and I hope that they're true, this match should have never even been a topic of discussion to begin with. You know why? It's because Roman Reigns does not need the rub from The Rock. You were better off doing The Rock versus Roman Reigns back in 2015, 2016, 2017, instead of shoving babyface Roman Reigns into the World Heavyweight Championship title scene. You were better off doing The Rock versus Roman Reigns then. Because with Roman Reigns coming back as the tribal chief, winning the championship, and just going on a mega heel run, a heel run that's going to be remembered for years, although I'm thinking that a lot of people would want to forget about this title reign, because following WrestleMania, this title reign has absolutely sucked. Absolutely sucked. But The Rock versus Roman Reigns, it's already a given that Roman Reigns is a made man. If we're going to do a legend versus a current-day superstar, although, if anything, I don't know if you can even call Roman Reigns a current-day superstar anymore, because he's virtually Brock Lesnar 2.0. He's a draw that doesn't draw. Let's be real right here. But if we're going to do something along the lines of The Rock or any legend taking on a current-day superstar, wouldn't the end motive be to get the current star more over than they already are? What will The Rock do for Roman Reigns that Roman Reigns hasn't already done for himself? Roman Reigns has made himself into a legend without The Rock. He doesn't need The Rock in order to be a made man. The title reign itself made him into a legend. The title reign itself made him into a must-see act, at least when he was hot. Not anymore. Not anymore. But when Roman Reigns was hot, and when he was putting on bangers with everyone he stepped into the ring with, and he was wrestling at every single pay-per-view, that right there, that is when Roman Reigns was making himself into the guy. That was when the investment of Roman Reigns was starting to pay off. And even if they were going to do a match with The Rock, the ship sailed. If you were going to do a match with The Rock and Roman Reigns, it should have either been at WrestleMania 37 or WrestleMania 38. After WrestleMania 38, that ship was sailed, and a match between Roman and The Rock at WrestleMania, it would have done nothing for either man. It would have done nothing for either man whatsoever. You know why? Because Roman Reigns already achieved the highest of highs. The Rock isn't the final boss. The final boss for Roman Reigns was becoming the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. The final boss for Roman Reigns was Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania 38 Night 2, where he won both the WWE and the Universal Championship. You don't get any higher than that. The match sucked. Match absolutely sucked, but the end game ultimately made Roman Reigns into the unstoppable monster that we see today. There was not a single chance in hell that WWE was going to have The Rock go in there and that feel more important than Roman Reigns winning both championships at the same time. And on top of that, the buzz of Rock versus Roman in and around the IWC, it's died out. It's honest to God died out. Less and less people are talking about that, and more people have just become sick of Roman Reigns. And that's not because Roman Reigns is not great. He's a great character. He's a great wrestler. But there's no one else left for him to fight. Everyone that ultimately fights Roman Reigns is ultimately going to be knocked down a few pegs. Roman Reigns is not beneficial to WWE TV anymore. When he first won the title, he was beneficial. 2021, he was beneficial. 2022, he was beneficial. But 2023 has undoubtedly been one of the worst years of Roman Reigns' career. He doesn't show up, barely defends the title. He's not drawing a single dime. I'm sorry, he's not. If you actually think that Roman Reigns is drawing a dime, then you are a complete buffoon. You are a complete Nimrod. You want to know why SmackDown is over 2 million? SmackDown is over 2 million simply because of the fact that A, it's on Fox, and Fox is one of the most watched cable networks on the planet. And number two, Vince McMahon is not in creative anymore. Because if you guys have been paying attention, there's been a lot of fans that have stopped watching WWE because of Vince McMahon's terrible booking. Now with Triple H in full command, people are going to migrate back to WWE because they trust in Triple H's vision. Triple H created NXT Black and Gold, which was the best wrestling era since the Attitude Era. And on top of that, if you guys paid attention, what happened when Vince McMahon retired last year? What happened when Vince retired last year and Triple H took over? The ratings went up. What happened this year? Ari Emanuel stripped Vince McMahon of his power. Triple H has been bestowed that power. The ratings are going up. So it's because of Triple H and it's because of Fox that SmackDown is over 2 million. No one cares about Roman Reigns anymore. And if you're going to try and tell me that they do, you are completely delusional. You are delusional. Roman Reigns has done nothing for the championship following WrestleMania. He's actually been a detriment to the championship. Both Roman and Cody are now worse off following WrestleMania. Roman's already been pinned, so his undefeated streak is ultimately vanished up in smoke. And Cody Rhodes, even though he's still getting big reactions, even though he's still getting a lot of big-time merch sales, Cody Rhodes and his booking following WrestleMania has been terrible. Outside of that match with Brock Lesnar and this little brief stint with the Judgment Day, he has accumulated zero momentum whatsoever. And if you honestly think that he does have momentum, maybe you need to check yourself because you've already wrecked yourself. Roman versus The Rock was never going to do anything beneficial to The Rock or to Roman. If it was 2016 and Roman Reigns were to turn heel, then you know what? You know when they should have done Rock versus Roman? Roman Reigns should have turned heel going into WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. You know, Roman Reigns fought The Undertaker at that WrestleMania. And then he was going on and on for a solid year about how he retired The Undertaker. He was acting like a heel, even though he's supposed to be a babyface. Roman should have turned heel in 2016, and you should have built The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania 33. That's when it should have taken place. That was the best possible scenario for it to take place. Now, if you wanted to do the Tribal Chief versus The Rock, it should have been WrestleMania 37 or WrestleMania 38. But following WrestleMania 38, the ship sailed. You know why? Because we actually started getting credible challengers into the fold to fight Roman Reigns. And those credible challengers were people like Owens, Zayn, Drew McIntyre, and Cody. Cody should have been the end goal. Cody should have done the deed, and they didn't do it. Why? Because WWE cannot bear to have an AEW vice president, an EVP, from the opposite company, from the company that has been handing them their asses in terms of weekly show quality every week. WWE wants to tout about these ratings. It don't matter. It don't matter. Your shows are not up to par with what AEW does, minus the last month and a half. Because the last month and a half of WWE TV has actually been pretty decent. But at the end of the day, the end goal should have been Cody. They didn't do it. Now Triple H is trying to rectify the mistakes that Vince made. And more likely than not, Cody Rhodes is ultimately going to beat Roman at WrestleMania 40. But even then, it's not going to feel the same as what it would have felt like if they did it this year at WrestleMania. Roman versus The Rock should have never even been a thought following WrestleMania 38. You should have put that out of your mind. And it's clear as day that The Rock doesn't really care. The Rock doesn't care. And The Rock does not want to do it. The Rock is content with where he's at. The Rock is content with what he's doing. The Rock does not care to get back in the ring. You want to have him make an appearance? He can make an appearance, but he doesn't want to wrestle anymore. If Rock was serious about this, it would have already happened. So I'm glad that there's no plans, and I hope that there's no plans going forward. Those are your news, rumors, and reports. Let me take another sip of my ice water right here. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been great. Thank you very much for Maria. Thank you very much for Dylan. Thank you very much to Violet Zane and Sam Watts. Thank you very much to the Final Hoss. You guys have been great all stream. We got about 4 weekly shows to go over, and then we are going to get on out of here. I'm heading over to Bolero Snort Brewery tonight at 7 p.m. for a show in Carlstadt, New Jersey, because tonight in Carlstadt, New Jersey, we will have ourselves a big-time matchup. A big-time matchup with Crowbar and EC3 for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And also, a good friend of mine, Rutherford DPW member Gunner Trash, returns to the ring after over 4 years of an absence, and I got to call his last match. Finally, he returns to the ring, and I will see his return live and in the flesh tonight. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Let's talk about some weekly television, shall we? Monday Night Raw this week. Monday Night Raw was actually a very good show. It was the season premiere. The season premiere of Monday Night Raw, and we got ourselves a very well laid out show. The only negative that I would say that this show really had was the crowd. The crowd was not up to par with what Monday Night Raw has been these last few weeks. I believe they were in Oklahoma City. And Oklahoma City, it was almost like they forgot they were even at a wrestling show. Good show, though. Good show. Just a very bad crowd. And to answer your question, Lisa, I believe it starts at 6 a.m. I believe the chamber starts at 6 a.m. I'll have to double check. It's either 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. Either way, I'm getting up to watch some wrestling. I'll be getting up to watch some wrestling. I'll be getting up to take some notes. So, Raw started off with Sami Zayn. He was wearing a KO shirt. He welcomed everyone to the season premiere of Raw. He said it was weird coming out just by himself. He said that, unfortunately, the KO partnership has come to an end, but he's excited for him and himself. He wanted to prove to everyone that Sami Zayn is a world champion level superstar, which is very true. He is. The reason that Owens is no longer on Raw is because of the arrival of Jey Uso, and I'm struggling a bit. Our title reign was tainted because we had to deal with the Judgment Day. One thing I do know is that the last year of my career has been the best. I reached the heights that I reached, and I did it because of all of you. So the Judgment Day came out, and he said that no one should be kicking off the season premiere of Raw but the Judgment Day. He mocked Zayn for being alone. Priest says that he wants to remove Zayn and the Undisputed Tag Team Idiots and Drew McIntyre. Rhea noticed that Sami Zayn looked lost. He looked lost, right? And she said that normally we would bring in people that looked lost, but we want to get rid of you permanently. So they surrounded Sami Zayn before Jey Uso came out with a chair. He gave one to Sami. Balor backed off, and Sami looked a little unsure. And initially, I thought that Sami Zayn was potentially plotting a heel turn. I thought he was going to cost Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes the tag team titles. That didn't happen. Sami Zayn, he is just frustrated. Him and Jey ultimately made up in the end. Not bad, but pretty much the same old open that we've seen for God knows how many weeks now. If anything, this was probably the weakest thing on the show, minus the crowd. But one thing I am excited for is the potential Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins match that I do believe that we will be getting. I do believe that after Crown Jewel, when Drew McIntyre ultimately loses, because Rollins is not losing that title, not yet. I do believe that Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins could very well be a big-time money matchup, probably at the Royal Rumble, maybe even the Chamber. Who knows? I think that would be one hell of a match. And if you're asking me, that right there will elevate Sami Zayn up several notches. So that is definitely something that I'm looking forward to. Ricochet. Ricochet took on Shinsuke Nakamura. This was a Falls Count Anywhere match, and we got a very good showcase by both of these men. So the fight started right out of the gate. Ricochet with a Fosbury flop to the floor. That got a 2 count. Ricochet was then sent into the stage. They brawled backstage, and Ricochet with a V-trigger off of the referee's back for a 2, which was actually pretty cool. We had a moonsault on the stage, but Nakamura got his knees up. Shooting star press on the stage. Coming back from commercial, both men were out in the stands, right? They were out in the stands, and Ricochet does a shooting star press out of the stands onto Nakamura and the security guards. Great spot. They brawled back to the ringside area. Nakamura then got a table and some nunchucks. He got some nunchucks, and Nakamura beat Ricochet with the nunchucks. The table was then set up. Ricochet put Nakamura on the table, and he climbed up to the top, and Nakamura got off. Back in the ring, Nakamura hit a GTS, a go-to sleep, for a 2, teasing the fact that we could very well see Punk in WWE still. Ricochet then climbed up. Nakamura got up too, and Ricochet ended up knocking Nakamura off of the top rope. We had Ricochet connecting with an enziguri and a springboard 450 for a 2. Very nicely done. Both men were up top again. Ricochet had Nakamura where he wanted him. Nakamura with an enziguri then sent Ricochet off the top rope, crashing through a table, and then Nakamura delivered the Kinshasa. Nakamura gets the win. 1, 2, 3, and Nakamura wins a very good Falls Count Anywhere match. I was actually a little surprised by this outcome. I really was. However, I'm kind of glad that Nakamura got the win, because Nakamura, he just lost 2 matches in a row to Seth Rollins. So you really don't want to keep him looking weak by having him lose to Ricochet. Although I really don't understand why Ricochet isn't being built up to be a potential challenger for the World Heavyweight title. Now, with that being said, here's what I will say, and this is something that I'm actually looking forward to. Nakamura got the win here over Ricochet. Sami Zayn, he is on a quest to prove to everyone that he is a world championship level superstar. I don't know about you guys, but if you want to make Crown Jewel a little bit more interesting, I would not mind doing a match with Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura, and maybe with that crowd reaction, you could get somewhat of a glimpse into what they did back at NXT TakeOver Dallas. We could very well see the old Sami Zayn and the old Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe we get Sami and Nakamura at Crown Jewel, and maybe that match is going to be to determine who fights for the World Heavyweight title after Crown Jewel. Maybe that's why Nakamura beat Ricochet here. And if that's the case, I would not mind that whatsoever, because if we get Sami and Nakamura, Sami wins, and Sami fights Rollins, that's a big-time money match to keep Raw interesting in December. So from there, we had a match with Piper, Niven, and Natalya. Really nothing of note right here. I didn't care, didn't even bother taking notes on it. Afterwards, Nox came out to save Natalya, and that was pretty much it. WWE clearly does not care about women's wrestling. They clearly do not care about women's wrestling. I'm actually shocked that Io Sky is having as good of a title reign as she is having. Because Io Sky, we've been getting some great matches with Io Sky and what she's doing, whether it be with Charlotte or Asuka, and the moment at SummerSlam was great. So I can't really complain about what they're doing with Io Sky. But outside of Io Sky, there is nothing, and I mean nothing good, going on in WWE's women's division. Nothing. Thank you very much for stopping by, Mr. Earl Cole. I hope you are doing very, very well. So after that, we move into a promo, which was probably one of the best things about the show. It was Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. They cut a promo, and this was all leading up into the big-time matchup at WWE Crown Jewel. Seth Rollins came out, and he wanted to talk to Drew McIntyre. He wanted to address a few things. So Drew McIntyre, he came out, and Drew McIntyre, he was kind of questioning what Rollins was talking about, because Rollins said, I can actually handle my business on my own. And Drew McIntyre was like, do you care to elaborate? Rollins then pointed out a little backstage segment last week where Rhea Ripley was actually talking to Drew McIntyre in the background. Drew said that Rhea came up to him, and what they talked about was none of Seth's business. Rollins then promised that no one is going to take the title off of him. He's had a lot of big matches and a lot of big failures. He's talking about Drew. Rollins said that dealing with the Judgment Day is a very slippery slope. Drew then talked about not needing anyone to fight his battles. Rollins was then annoyed because Drew kept mentioning the bloodline, and he just said, get over it. Drew wasn't too happy. He actually talked about stepping up during the pandemic, and he wasn't happy when the bloodline screwed him over. You know what? You're going to have to reinvent yourself for the 53rd time after I take that damn title from you. I thought that was a great line by Drew McIntyre right there. Rollins then said, I understand, Drew, but all you've been doing is making excuses. And when I beat you at Crown Jewel, it will be the best thing that's ever happened to you, because you will have nobody to blame but yourself. I thought that was a great line by Rollins, and this was a great promo with Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. And you know what? This is what I like. We're getting an actual build. We're getting actual tension. We're getting actual heat being generated between certain individuals in certain matches heading into Crown Jewel. Exactly what I want. The show is shaping up to be fantastic. 1 p.m. on a Saturday, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of that show. We got Rollins and Drew, Roman and LA Knight, even though it shouldn't be happening. We got a fatal five-way for the Women's Championship. We got Logan Paul, Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship, a potential John Cena and Solo Sikoa match. We got ourselves a nice, solid pay-per-view coming around. Can't really complain too much. Another thing I'm not going to complain about is seeing Johnny Gargano on my TV screen, because Johnny Gargano, he is fantastic at what he does. He was on television. He fought Ludwig Kaiser. And we got ourselves a pretty decent match right here. Gargano actually took the fight to Kaiser pretty early. Kaiser then tried to slow the pace down. Coming back from commercial, we had Gargano mounting a comeback with a nice rolling kick and a slingshot spear. Flying flatliner from the middle rope. That got a 2 count. Both men were then on the middle rope. We had a sunset flip powerbomb by Gargano. That got a 2. And the crowd was not too lively. Decent match, but the crowd was not too lively. That kind of pissed me off. So Gargano then with the Willow's Bell, he went for one final beat, but Giovanni Vinci poked Gargano in the eye. I was about to say he put Kaiser's foot on the rope, but he didn't. He poked Gargano in the eye behind the referee's back. We then had a running enziguri by Kaiser, and then a swinging Rainmaker DDT. Kaiser gets the win, and it's a very nice thing to see Imperium actually getting wins on TV rather than looking like bums, because that right there, it honest to God pisses me off when Gunther is the one reaping all the benefits while Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser are looking like complete scrubs. So I'm glad that Imperium is winning. I didn't have a single issue with this. Rhea Ripley, she came out to address the crowd. She said that everyone wants a part of Monday Night Mommy. She then said that this is her division, and she's going to prove to Shayna Baszler why Mommy is always on top. So Shayna and Ripley, they had their match. This did not result in anything other than a DQ. Nia Jax came out, Raquel Rodriguez came out, and Zoe Stark came out. It was just an all-out melee. Nia came into the ring. Stark super kicked her. Ripley then picked up Nia. Stark then drop kicked Nia while Nia was in a carry position on Rhea Ripley's arms. Drop kicked Nia. Nia squashed Rhea Ripley. And we got ourselves a fatal five-way matchup at WWE Crown Jewel. Now, again, I need to mention this. I need to talk about this because I talked about this earlier. And I don't think that Lisa was here for this. Rhea Ripley is great. Rhea Ripley is great. No one's ever going to deny that, but I'm sorry. Her title reign has been awful. I don't know what they are doing, but WWE has not put a single focus on Ripley's title reign whatsoever. Her title is a prop. Her title reign is an afterthought. Rhea Ripley has been the women's champion since WrestleMania 39, night number 1 earlier this year, and she has done nothing with it. She has not had one memorable moment since beating Charlotte at WrestleMania, and the only decent match that she's accumulated was a match with Natalya on the July 3rd edition of Monday Night Raw. And the fact that they are putting her in a fatal five-way match at WWE Crown Jewel, it just reeks of laziness. They cannot be bothered to generate any story whatsoever. Zero. They cannot be bothered to generate any story whatsoever and actually try and put some effort into what Rhea Ripley is doing. If it wasn't for Rhea Ripley's aura and the fact that she was with the Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley would be a complete afterthought on the show. Her title reign is completely meaningless. WWE has done a horrible job booking her reign since it started. So we got that fatal five-way. That's confirmed. Should be a fine match. Should be a fine match. But I mean, come on. Did anyone honestly believe that Rhea Ripley is doing that women's title good? She's not. She's not. If anything, with how bad her title reign is, again, not her fault, but I would ultimately say screw it. I would give the title to Shayna Baszler at Crown Jewel. I'd, honest to God, give the title to Shayna Baszler at Crown Jewel. Screw it. It's not like it's going to mean anything. If you want to take it off of her, if you want to protect her in defeat, Shayna Baszler can choke someone else out. Have her choke out Zoe Stark. Have her choke out Raquel Rodriguez. Have her choke out Nia Jax. She doesn't need to beat Rhea Ripley. I'd give Shayna Baszler the title, honest to God. Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed and Gunther. They had themselves a very nice big man fight. Started out a little bit slow. Gunther tried for the powerbomb, but he couldn't get it. Reed back body dropped Gunther on the apron and then delivered a flying shoulder block to Gunther to the floor. Coming back from commercial, Reed with a chop, and Gunther chopped Reed right back. Reed then with a Death Valley driver for a 2. Reed went for the senton, but Gunther got the knees up. Gunther with a lariat. Reed kicked out. Both men were now up on the top rope, and Gunther was given a massive superplex by Bronson Reed. Very nicely done. We then had Reed going up for the tsunami splash, but Gunther moved. Gunther with a drop kick, a lariat, and a big splash, but Reed kicked out again. Down the home stretch here, Gunther with a power bomb, and finally, Gunther puts down Reed and retains the championship, in which the last 3 minutes of this match were great. One thing I would highly encourage you to do, go out of your way and watch this match with Gunther and Bronson Reed. It was awesome. Next week on Raw, Drew McIntyre. He's going to be taking on Sami Zayn. That should be a banger of a match. We had Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch, she will be taking on Indy Hartwell next week. And then Logan Paul, he returns to Monday Night Raw, even though he's supposed to be on SmackDown. Main event, Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. We had Jey Uso, it's just me, Uso. Hey, what? It's just me, Uso. And then we had adrenaline in my soul. Cody Rhodes is, He's no longer a tag team champion after Monday Night Raw. Adrenaline in my soul. No longer a champion, Cody Rhodes. He is back to being a bum. Oh! Cody Rhodes and the Judgment Day. Undisputed Tag Team Championships. And yes, you heard me correctly. Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso lose the Tag Team Championships. This one got me pissed off too. So fast forward to the end here. We had Jimmy Uso out of nowhere. Jimmy Uso came out of nowhere, super kicked Jey Uso. Cody Rhodes was taken out of the equation. Cody Rhodes was put through a table. With a razor's edge by Damian Priest. Jimmy Uso came up out of nowhere behind the referee's back, super kicked Jey, and Finn Balor took advantage with the coup de grace, and the Judgment Day are the tag team champions once again. I actually had people trying to defend the fact that the championships are flip-flopping back and forth. It's like I'm watching the TNT championship before Christian Cage and Luchasaurus got a hold of it. I want everyone to understand something here. I don't care what happened back during the Attitude Era or how many titles flip-flopped back and forth. There should be no such thing as a short title reign. You know why? Because short title reigns ultimately cause the title to lose prestige, and they cause the individual holding the championship to lose credibility. I do not want to hear anyone talk about taking a title off of someone unless they've held it for at least 100 to 150 days minimum. If you are not going to invest long-term in a champion holding a championship, then they should not be given the title. Why is it that Judgment Day needed to take the titles off of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to put them on Cody and Jey for a few days, ultimately to put them right back on the Judgment Day? And on top of that, Kevin Owens was the one that was traded from Raw to SmackDown. It wasn't Cody. We all thought that Cody Rhodes won the tag team titles to help facilitate him going to SmackDown to finish the story with Roman. Now, the tag team titles are no longer on Cody and Jey, so they cannot willingly show up on Raw and SmackDown anymore. Why? Why did this even happen? It's almost like Triple H. Triple H almost feels like he's trying to rectify what Vince McMahon did wrong. But I mean, if this is what Triple H is doing, if this was the work of Triple H, I'm sorry, Hunter, this ain't going to fly with me. This ain't going to fly. No title reign should be short. 100 to 150 days minimum. I will always preach it. You need to invest long-term with every championship reign. Now that the titles are back on the Judgment Day, I do not want to hear about the Judgment Day losing those titles until we get to WrestleMania 40. You have the money match lined up perfectly. The money match at WrestleMania 40 for the tag team titles is Judgment Day and DIY, with DIY going over. If you want a match that could potentially rival what Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the Usos did at WrestleMania earlier this year, that's your match. That is your match. We should not be talking about Judgment Day losing those titles until we get to Philadelphia at WrestleMania 40. No excuses. I am sick of these short title reigns. Short title reigns do not do anyone any good. I don't care what happened 30 years ago in the 1990s during the Attitude Era. We need long title reigns. I'm not saying we need to have every championship reign be 1,000 days like Roman Reigns. I'm not even saying that it needs to be 500 days like Gunther. But if you are not going to have an individual hold a championship for at least 4 to 6 months, then don't bother giving them the championship. Don't bother. Because all you're doing is just making the championship look bad. You're making the championship look bad. You're making the champion look bad. And you are not making television any more engaging than it already is. All you're doing is making the title feel like a hot potato. It feels like anyone can have it. People complained about it with the TNT championship, but you're not going to complain about it with the tag team titles. If Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso were just going to lose the titles right back to Judgment Day, they should have never won them to begin with. I am sick and tired of that. And it was a good match. It was a good match too, but it was a shit creative decision. That's Monday Night Raw for you. A very good wrestling show. A very good wrestling show, and they are building nicely towards Crown Jewel. I can't really complain about the Crown Jewel build. I don't know what's going to happen with the Judgment Day at Crown Jewel. Maybe we see the Alpha Academy. Maybe we see Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis versus the Judgment Day. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that would be great. We'll see what happens. Moving on to Dynamite. Dynamite this week. Very well-paced, very good flowing show. It did have a couple of things that I really didn't understand and a couple of things that really shouldn't have been on the show, but Tony Khan has gotten himself a nice little decent streak for Dynamite, and he's building towards Full Gear very, very, very nicely. That much I will say. So the show kicked off with Penta El Cero Miedo versus Jay White. And this was a very good opening match. Very solid, very good flowing match. You would come to expect that from someone like Penta and someone like Jay White. And by the way, people want to claim that AEW's in the mud. Meanwhile, they just did over 900,000 viewers. They did over 900,000 viewers back in their normal time slot, and you're trying to tell me that AEW's in the mud. AEW's a powerhouse. I think it's about time that people start realizing that. And by the way, ratings don't matter either. Ratings don't matter. The networks are happy with AEW, so at the end of the day, what you say is ultimately invalid. Ticket sales and finances and ratings, they don't matter. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to bring Jay back down to earth the next time that we collaborate, because the guy's a WWE stooge. I love you, Jay. I love you, Jay. But you're a stooge. See, you need to learn how to be more like me. If you were more like me, maybe the page would be a little bit more successful. See if I can get banned from that. He's probably going to be texting me after the stream. He's probably going to watch the stream back. He's going to be like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" We can take our issues to GTS Wrestling. We'll have stakes next Saturday, and then we'll take our issues to GTS Wrestling. How about that? So, this was a very good match right here. This ultimately resulted in Jay White getting the victory, and Juice Robinson, he was bragging about how he was going to win the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal tonight. Jay White got the victory. Jay White then took the microphone, and he asked where MJF was. He says that JAY is the real world champion, an elite world champion. Jay White then said that he's waiting for an answer from MJF for an 8-man tag, but he's got no one that wants to team with him. Juice then said nobody wants to team with him, and he promised to win the Dynamite Diamond Dozen Battle Royale. And Austin said, if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you: guns up. Bullet Club Gold, man. Bullet Club Gold is easily one of the best acts in the entire industry right now. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens at Full Gear. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens at Full Gear. It is certainly going to be a very, very, very fun show, to say the least. They're building a very nice story with MJF and Jay White. Emi Sakura, she took on Hikaru Shida. This was an AEW Women's World Title Eliminator match. I am not an Emi Sakura fan. Don't get that misconstrued. I am not an Emi Sakura fan. And to be quite honest with you, this was probably one of the most lackluster parts of the show. Not to say it was a bad match. It was actually a very good match for what it was. But in the end, there wasn't really any heat to this match. However, despite there not being any heat to this match, and despite the fact that I am not an Emi Sakura advocate, and I will tell you that, I'm not. I'm going to have to throw this out there, and it may not sit well with a lot of people, but a lot of stuff that I say doesn't sit well with people because a lot of people aren't ready to acknowledge the truth. But I'm going to tell you the same thing that I've always told you. When it comes to pro wrestling, when it comes to DJ Storms, I speak objectively, not subjectively. So what comes out of my mouth is 1000% truth, not opinion. Trust me on that. No matter how you want to slice it, no matter what problems you may think Tony Khan has to handle, and he's got a lot of problems that he needs to handle, the AEW women's division is putting on better week-to-week matches than the WWE women's division. You may not like it, but that is the gospel truth right there. I'm not even counting pay-per-views. I'm not counting whatever matches took place on pay-per-views. I'm talking about week-to-week television, whether it be Shida and Tony, Shida and Saraya, Chris Statlander, Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, Sky Blue, or Ruby Soho mixing it up with Chris Statlander, or Tony Storm and Kiera Hogan, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be, regardless of what you may think, the AEW women's division is putting on better in-ring wrestling matches on a weekly basis than the WWE women's division. Piper Niven and Natalya was a complete snooze fest on Monday Night Raw. And I'm not even saying that Emi Sakura and Hikaru Shida was the best women's match of the year, but they did immensely better than Natalya and Piper Niven. And you know why? It's because Tony Khan actually gives the women the opportunity to go out there and put on these great matches. Look at what Britt Baker and Chris Statlander did on Collision not that long ago. And they got an overrun on Collision as well. It's a great match. The AEW women's division is full of better wrestlers, and they are putting on better week-to-week matches than WWE. Fact. So Sakura actually was laying into Shida right here. We actually had some stiff chops. We had a backbreaker, butterfly backbreaker reversed. We had some back and forth roll-ups. Sakura with a tiger driver, which looked very nice. She went for the moonsault, but she missed. Shida hit the katana. Sakura kicked out at 1. We had a roll-up by Sakura for a 2. Backbreaker by Shida. Falcon Arrow. Sakura kicked out again. Shida with the katana again, and Hikaru Shida gets the win in a very solid women's wrestling match. Really nothing of note, though. This was just a match to kind of keep Hikaru Shida on the show, and then probably we're going to be building towards a match at Full Gear. Probably with either Soho or Saraya. Maybe we get Shida and Timeless Tony Storm again. Who knows? Who knows? Renee Paquette, she interviewed Adam Copeland. And this was a very good sit-down interview with Adam Copeland. Copeland stated that he's still very confused with Christian and how Christian has deciphered this entire scenario with him over the years. I would let this reunion play out, and he was on board up until the last few months. So we were best friends back in 6th grade, Adam Copeland said. And the teachers actually sent me to talk to him to come into school. And then through high school and through college, he said that he gave Christian Cage the confidence to train. And whatever reason, it's always been Adam and J or E and C, and that has stuck with him. He's minimized the work that I've done. He said that he has always been held back, but in reality, I just can't help but feel that he would still be working a job at an IT department, wondering what if I didn't instill that confidence in him. Copeland then said that he is not here to take his spotlight or the TNT title. He knows that everything is going to come crashing down on him. He will not fight him, but eventually Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus will leave him high and dry, and he'll be there to pick him up. This was great. This was very simple, very straightforward. It laid out a very nice story, and it did everything that it needed to do. It was so simple. Such a simple, straightforward interview like this could make all that much of a difference. It is a great thing to see. And Adam Copeland is already paying dividends to AEW television. Adam Copeland is doing great things on AEW television, and he's only wrestled one match, and he's been coming out there in segments and interviews. It's been a great thing. It's been very refreshing. It's been a great thing to see a long-term storyline with two lifelong best friends play out And we're going to see this culmination eventually come to fruition. I do believe that it's going to be a six-man tag. It's going to be a six-man tag at Full Gear. It's going to be Darby Allin, Sting, and Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. That's how I would do it, because you don't need to have Adam Copeland actually physically strike Christian Cage, but that will be a nice gateway into getting the match. And inevitably, we will get a Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland match, because he won't fight him now. He's not going to fight him now, but now the question is, what is Christian Cage going to do that's going to send Adam Copeland over the edge? No pun intended. Moving on here, we had a squash match with Wardlow and Ryan Nemeth. One powerbomb and it was done. Shivani then tried to get a word with Wardlow. He asked what he is back for. Wardlow didn't utter a word. All he did was show his wrist tape, which said MJF. And then he just shoulder bumped Tony Schiavone down. Now, I know a lot of people are sick of these Wardlow squash matches. I am too. But everything that is going on here with Wardlow, this needs to play into a bigger story. And especially after what happened in the next two segments. In the next two segments, Kenny Omega was interviewed by Renee Paquette, and he said that we will see the Kenny Omega of old challenging for the AEW World title. MJF then came in, shook Omega's hand. He kept it cordial. He didn't strike Omega. He just shook his hand, but he whispered in his ear, 13 days, bitch. And in less than 13 days, actually, in 10 days, Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship reign will be broken, and MJF will be the longest reigning world champion. Now, rumor is that Kenny Omega and MJF are both set for Collision on October 28th. If we're going to get a world title match right then and there, man, you're not going to see me complain one bit. That is something that I would love to see personally. And then the next segment, it's so great how the Wardlow segment, the Kenny Omega segment, and the Adam Cole, Roderick Strong segment, they were all placed one after the other. And this is a great strategy right there. And I'm going to tell you why. So Adam Cole was asked by Roderick Strong to make him some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Roddy was then pissed because Cole didn't cut the crust off. Cole then got pissed and left as Roderick Strong continued to scream, Adam! And then Roddy said, I know what I have to do in order to get my best friend back. I guess I'll have to be nice to that scumbag. Talking about MJF. And you know why this is brilliant? These segments were placed one after the other. This is a brilliant story and a brilliant plan in place because MJF is currently in need of partners. He's in need of partners to help him fight Bullet Club Gold and get the Triple B back. It's not going to be the Acclaimed. It's not going to be the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, although I do believe that the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass will lose the Trios titles to Bullet Club Gold. I do believe that they will lose the Trios titles to Bullet Club Gold, which I have no problem with. But MJF needs three people to team with. Who's it going to be? Roderick Strong, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven. And you know why this is so great? Because this is ultimately going to have MJF in a position where he lets his guard down. MJF is going to let his guard down because remember what Adam Cole told him. Adam Cole told him it's okay to have more than one best friend. Roderick Strong and the Kingdom are going to team with MJF on behalf of Adam Cole. And MJF and Roderick Strong will work together for Adam Cole. All the while, MJF is having new challengers being built up for him. We're going to get a match with Omega. We're going to get a match with Jay White. And then Wardlow. Wardlow's going to be a major player in this story. Wardlow should win the AEW World Title Eliminator match. He should win the AEW World Title Eliminator tournament, and he should fight MJF at Winter is Coming. And Wardlow Wardlow does not buy the fact that MJF has changed. Now, the roles are reversed. MJF is the babyface. Wardlow is the heel. We get the match at Winter is Coming, and MJF is trying to convince Wardlow. He's trying to convince Wardlow that he is a changed man, but Wardlow does not buy it. It will result in MJF just barely retaining the title. And then MJF should lay down on the mat with his knees on the mat, his hands spread out, and just say, "Powerbomb me, Wardlow. I deserve it. I deserve it." He should give himself up to Wardlow to powerbomb, but Wardlow doesn't do it. Wardlow walks away, and as he's walking away, the masked men that attacked Bullet Club Gold's leader, Jay White, the masked men swoop in. They attack MJF. Wardlow sees it, but he walks away. And the masked men are ultimately revealed to be Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and Adam Cole. These segments with Roderick Strong and Adam Cole are nothing more than red herrings. It's all part of the master plan. Adam Cole is the puppet master here. With Adam Cole being the puppet master, Roderick Strong and the Kingdom are going to carry out his plan. They're going to weaken MJF. They're going to cause MJF to open up, and when MJF lets his guard down, he is ultimately going to pay the price. When MJF lets his guard down, Roderick Strong and the Kingdom and Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, they're going to strike like cobras. And now MJF is going to have to recruit people to help him, because those who he thought he could trust, those who helped him get the belt back from Bullet Club Gold, those who should aid in him retaining the title at Full Gear. Roderick Strong, you can even take it a step further, and you could have Roderick Strong become one half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions with MJF. And ultimately, MJF's openness to trust Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, that is ultimately going to be his downfall. It's ultimately going to be his downfall, and it's going to cause everyone in the crowd, to have sympathy for MJF, because he trusted these guys and they stabbed him in the back. And Adam Cole let his obsession with the World Heavyweight Championship get in the way. They let his obsession with the world title, he let it get in the way of the friendship with MJF. And ultimately, MJF is going to be left with no one. Who's going to be there for MJF? Wardlow's going to be there. You know who else is going to be there? Dax Harwood is going to be there. Cash Wheeler is going to be there. Sean Spears should be there. You got the Pinnacle versus Adam Cole and his group. And that is your major program going into 2024. It is a brilliant story. And the best part about it is, that's just how I would do it. There are so many different avenues that they can go with the story. I actually don't even know where this story is going to go. But if Wardlow is going to be back on TV and he is going to be with MJF, he should absolutely be embroiled in this storyline with MJF and Adam Cole. He needs to be side by side with MJF. That is the only way that they need to save his career. If that is not the way that they go with Wardlow, I don't know what they're going to do to save his career. His career is essentially dead after that. But that is the way that I would do it. Tony Schiavone then interviewed Don Callis. He was with Powerhouse Hobbs and Konosuke Takeshita. Sammy Guevara obviously still recovering from the concussion incident. Hobbs said that his grandmother, the man who raised him, got him tickets to meet his hero, Chris Jericho. And when we were front row, you told my grandmother to shut up, and then you told me to sit down. You told a 7-year-old kid to sit his ass down, walked right past us, and he promised to hurt Chris, and he gave him spine buster after spine buster after spine buster. Crowd booed. They booed loud. And you know what? I loved how Hobbs came off here. It was so simple. Again, simplistic and effective storytelling. A simplistic and effective reason. Hobbs was pissed off at Chris Jericho for what he did all those many years ago how he disrespected his grandmother and he disrespected a 7-year-old Powerhouse Hobbs. Simple. Very, very simple. Callis then called out Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher then came out and he said, I did that match for you as a favor, and now I'm going to prove that I can beat Kenny Omega. Callis then told him to beat Omega, and we may have an opportunity to discuss business next week. And we got ourselves one hell of a match with Kyle Fletcher and Kenny Omega. Kyle Fletcher, I'm telling you, Kyle Fletcher, he has got one hell of a future. He's got one hell of a future as a singles competitor. And I'm very much looking forward to the fact that Kyle Fletcher is branching out on his own. And when Mark Davis comes back, I really do hope that they continue the momentum of Aussie Open as a duo. So Fletcher came in with some chops. Omega answered back with some chops of his own. We had a moonsault out of the corner on Fletcher. Missile drop kick to the back by Omega. Cross-legged fisherman buster on the knee. Half and half suplex by Fletcher. Enziguri in a brain buster. That got a 2. Omega kicked out. Fletcher with a lawn dart and a Michinoku driver for a 2. Calf kick by Fletcher. Omega then with a V-trigger to the back. Poison Rana, power bomb, V-trigger. Fletcher kicked out. V-trigger again. Dragon sleeper by Fletcher. Snapdragon suplex by Omega. Super kick by Fletcher. Omega with one of the nastiest V-triggers that I've ever seen, turning Fletcher inside out. One-winged angel, and Kenny Omega wins an excellent professional wrestling match. And if he is going to be fighting MJF on Collision next week, I have absolutely no issue with that. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I think that that would be a great match to put on Collision. Lance Archer, he took on a local jobber. Really nothing of substance here. Nothing of substance whatsoever. I don't really care to see Lance Archer anymore. I love Lance Archer. I think Lance Archer is great, but how many times have we seen Lance Archer on television, and how many times have they done the same thing with Lance Archer? Lance Archer is not a guy that is going to be winning any championships. Lance Archer is more of an attraction. He's just an anomaly. So, listen, it's great to see him, but I don't care about him. I just don't care about Lance Archer. You could have done without that. I would not have put that match on the show. We had Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana. They were interviewed in a backstage vignette, and Swerve said that he wasn't happy, and he told Adam Page that he is not the only one that is going to pay for his actions. And they released a music video of Flash Garments and Swerve Strickland, Swerve When I Drive, or Big Pressure as it's called. Now, top rope, catch your vibe, catch your foot when I drive. And Prince Nana doing his thing. It's a great thing. Great thing to see. I think I may have to do a Swerve challenge at some point. I may have to go full throttle with this Swerve challenge. Tony Schiavone, he interviewed Sting. And Sting, he talked about the career of 30 years that he's had, traveling up and down the road with guys like Lex Luger, Buff Bagwell, and Dusty Rhodes, and Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair, Clash of Champions 1988, Clash of Champions 1990, Great American Bash. He said, "Thank you, Nature Boy." Sting then chanted, Sting was then in the ring, and the crowd chanted, "Thank you, Sting." He then talked about the roar of the fans. Crowd was chanting, "You still got it." He then said, "I've retired once already, but it didn't sit right with me." And I said at that time, the only thing that's for sure about Sting is that nothing is for sure, which brings me to the word retirement. I started here in All Elite Wrestling. My very first match with AEW was Revolution 2021, and my last match will be Revolution 2024. And the only thing that's for sure about Sting is that my retirement in 2024 is for sure. Sting had nothing to give back to pro wrestling. Sting did not need to do anything for pro wrestling whatsoever. Sting could have easily rode off into the sunset. He did not need to do anything for pro wrestling. The fact that he chose to go out of his way and he ended his career with AEW, and he He went out there with AEW, with this run, with AEW, with Darby Allin, and he brought to us some great memories, whether it be jumping off of mezzanines and balconies and fighting guys like Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky and Team Taz and all these other great memories. It is a great thing to see. It really is a great thing to see Sting going out there and Sting performing at a high level, tag teaming with Darby Allin. He's undefeated as well. So the only thing that I hope for Sting is that the next few months are the best months of his life, perhaps even of his career, the best months possible of his career. And I truthfully hope that he enjoys the next few months of his career. Now, who is his retirement match going to be against? Some people were throwing out Adam Copeland. Some people were throwing out Chris Jericho. I would not do either of those individuals. If you're asking me, I would put Darby Allin up there against Sting. It doesn't even have to be a match based on tension. It could be a match based on respect. You could literally have Darby Allin get offered the match by Sting, and Darby Allin goes, I'm not going to be known as the guy that ended Sting's career. Sting says, this is what everything's been building towards. This is what everything has been building towards, and I want you because you are, without a shadow of a doubt, the future of this business. And Sting is going to egg Darby Allin on. Sting wants Darby to fight him, and finally Darby will accept. But if you want to build some tension, you can say, hey, listen, it may be my last match, but I'm not going to take it easy on you. I'm going to go out of there with a win. So if you're asking me, Swerve, listen, I know Maria said Swerve, Jericho, Adam Copeland, I would go with Darby. Darby getting the win over Sting and Darby retiring Sting, that would be a huge accolade in the feather cap of Darby Allin. Now, if you're asking me, Swerve, I don't even think he needs it. I don't even think that he needs to win and he needs to beat Sting. If you're asking me, Swerve, if anything, should be the guy to take the international title off of Orange Cassidy. That's what I would do. Swerve versus Cassidy next year at Revolution, and Swerve takes the title off of Orange Cassidy. That's how I would do it. That's exactly how I would do it. Sting fights Darby. So from there, this was brilliant right here. This was brilliant. Jim Ross interviewed Nick Wayne and his mother. Nick Wayne's mom was saying that she doesn't understand Nick Wayne's motive. Nick Wayne wasn't happy, and he said that she didn't understand. It's time to prove that he can stand on his own. He wants to prove to himself and to others why he's here. And he says he's got a new father figure, Christian Cage, a better father figure than Dad ever was. His mom looked distraught. Christian Cage walked in the shot. He put his hand on Nick Wayne's shoulder, and he goes, are you ready to come home, son? I mean, what a prick. What a prick Christian Cage is. And it didn't stop there. So Nick Wayne's mother then slapped him. Nick Wayne then said, you're dead to me. And Christian, as he was walking out, said, you should have picked up the phone. I mean, Christian Cage, I don't care what anyone says. This is undoubtedly some of the best work that Christian Cage has been doing in his career. Christian Cage is absolutely gold. Christian Cage is gold. So afterwards, this resulted in an attack where Darby Allin was actually attacking Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. Luchasaurus and Sting came out, and Nick Wayne actually busted his tooth, which looked pretty nasty if you ask me. And it looks like that we will be getting a six-man tag between Copeland, Sting, and Darby Allin versus Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. Battle of the Belts 8 is also tonight. And on top of the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus 2.0 and Daniel Garcia for the Trios titles, we also got Chris Statlander and Will Nightingale for the TBS Championship. And we also got Orange Cassidy. He's taking on John Silver for the International Championship. Should be one hell of a show. And if they want to, it could be the best battle of the belts that they've ever done. I'm looking forward to it. We had the Dynamite Diamond Dozen Battle Royal, and Max Caster was in it, and it came down to Max Caster and Juice Robinson. But before that, one thing I want to point out, and I actually laughed at this. So Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, he walked down to the ring and he slid a couple of bucks to Dustin Rhodes, and Dustin Rhodes delivered the Shattered Dreams kick to the balls on Juice Robinson. MJF paid off Dustin to kick Juice Robinson in the balls. You gotta love it. Gotta love it. So after that, Garcia, he was teasing doing the dance, doing the hip thrust dance. And when he finally did it, he got a massive pop, only to get eliminated. We had Jay White and MJF. They were brawling on the stage, and Jay White inevitably low-blowed MJF. Juice Robinson, with the ring of his own, he knocked out Max Caster, threw him over the top, and next week it is going to be Jay White. He's going to be on the outside supporting Juice Robinson as Juice Robinson fights MJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And it looks like MJF, he's going to make it 5 years in a row with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which I have no problem with. Battle Royals are really, really lame. Battle Royals tend to be lackluster. And this was not by any means a memorable Battle Royale. But this was simple. It was effective. It did what it needed to do. If you ask me, you really could have done without the Battle Royal, but I understand why they have this tradition with the Dynamite Diamond Dozen Battle Royal. It is what it is there. It is what it is. And ultimately, Juice Robinson and MJF is booked for next week. Should be a decent little match. That was Dynamite for you. Very well-flowing show. Let's go to SmackDown here. SmackDown, I would probably say that SmackDown was probably the weakest show of the week. Not to say it was a bad show. It was a pretty solid show, but in terms of overall quality, I don't know. It felt like it was just lacking something. It felt like it was lacking a bit more intensity. Not to say it was bad. It was a fine little show, but it could have used a little bit more oomph, if you know what I mean. Now, the show kicked off with Paul Heyman. He said that he has some big shoes to fill this week. He talked about what happened on Raw where Jimmy Uso cost his brother and Cody Rhodes the Undisputed Tag Team titles. He also talked about the fact that at Crown Jewel, it will be Roman Reigns defending the Undisputed Universal title against L.A. Knight. Yeah. So he goes, I'm a huge admirer of L.A. Knight. The fans chanted, yeah. And Heyman goes, I hate when you do that. And Heyman said that if you're a fan of L.A. Knight, watch Crown Jewel because it will be the last time that you see L.A. Knight in a ring. Because L.A. Knight is going to get smashed by the reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion, your tribal chief, Roman Reigns. L.A. Knight then came out, massive pop. L.A. Knight then told Heyman to take a walk because he wanted Roman. Knight was then wondering where Heyman's lip was at now, because now he's out there, and he thinks that Heyman is afraid to say things to Knight's face. So he said to say what he said again, and then he just said, shut up. So he's kind of taunting Paul Heyman. He goes, you step out of that ring, and I'm going to slap that hair back to gray. Knight then said, if you take a shot at me, you better put me down for good. I don't do warning shots. I'll pull a Michael Myers on you, and I'll keep on coming back, and I won't stop until I own Roman Reigns' ass. Roman Reigns should be scared. And then, as the crowd was going, yeah, Knight goes, oh yeah, you don't like that. You don't like that, do you? You hate that, right? And Heyman goes, yeah. So he goes, when you talk to Roman Reigns, said LA Knight, make it clear whose game it is. And make it clear that you speak the undisputed truth that it is LA Knight, yeah. Listen, the promo between Heyman and Knight was very, very solid. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I didn't enjoy the promo. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was a bad promo. It wasn't. A decent little promo. But people are looking at this with rose-colored glasses on. People are looking at this with rose-colored glasses on, and they're not understanding what is actually happening here. Why is this match being booked now? I don't care what anyone is going to say. I don't care what kind of excuse you want to come up with. LA Knight is not in a position where he should be losing. I'm sorry. He's not. LA Knight, as of right now, should be doing nothing but collecting W's. If LA Knight is going to be placed in a match, you should have full investment in him to win the match. LA Knight and Roman Reigns, a match like this is literally being thrown out of nowhere. It makes zero sense. What do they have to do with one another? Why is this being built now? Now, if LA Knight was built up to win the Royal Rumble and he fought Roman at WrestleMania, then I would be a little bit more accepting of it. But when you take a look at that, you take a look at this in the overall grand scheme of things, what is this going to do for either man? And if you say it's going to do anything for LA Knight, you are lying to yourself and you need to check yourself into a mental asylum immediately. LA Knight is about to be ruined. And people are going to go on record and say, oh, well, one loss isn't going to kill anybody. Really now? Where were you when Tiffany Stratton lost to Becky Lynch? Oh, yeah, that's right. You're saying the same thing that you're saying about LA Knight right now. Yeah, LA Knight's going to take a loss, and LA Knight's going to look great in defeat after the loss. Really, if Tiffany Stratton looked so great after her 2 losses to Becky Lynch, where is she now? What is she doing? The answer is nothing. Tiffany Stratton has been in backstage segments, cutting promos on the NXT Women's Locker Room, and her words are as hollow can be. You know why? Because she's a loser. She's a 2-time loser. All she does is run her mouth, and she's lost twice to Becky Lynch. She had a horrible title reign. Tiffany Stratton, whether you want to admit it or not, is dead. Tiffany Stratton is a dead act. Where is everyone that was saying Tiffany Stratton looked so great after her 2 losses to Becky Lynch? Oh, yeah, her little loss did more for Tiffany Stratton than a victory would have. Really? Where is she now? How come no one's talking about her? How come no one is hyping her up? How come all the hype around Tiffany Stratton has suddenly died? You know why? It's because she lost the match that she shouldn't have lost to begin with. Tiffany Stratton should not have lost. LA Knight should not lose. Do you know why LA Knight shouldn't lose? Because LA Knight's a new star that WWE has heavy investment in. LA Knight is not in a position to be taking a loss not until after he's had a solid title reign. And ultimately, we all know that LA Knight should be the United States champion by now, but no, you're going to give it to Logan Paul, and you're not even going to fulfill the storyline with Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio. You're not even going to fulfill that storyline. Logan Paul's going to win the championship, and Santos Escobar is ultimately going to be an afterthought, and he is going to be fighting Rey Mysterio without the championship, unless you've ultimately decided to nix the breakup between the LWO, which, if anything, I appreciate that because there's no need for him to break up. But if you were going to nix the breakup, why didn't you just do LA Knight versus Rey Mysterio at Crown Jewel? And why didn't you just give LA Knight the United States title just like he should have won back at SummerSlam? But no, instead you're putting LA Knight against Roman Reigns in a match where he's not going to win, a match where he's going to be knocked down several pegs, a match in which he's going to be ruined just like Tiffany Stratton was ruined at the hands of Becky Lynch, ultimately for Logan Paul to win the United States title, and then Logan Paul and LA Knight's going to be the U.S. title match at WrestleMania with LA Knight beating Logan Paul. And Triple H is out here trying to correct the mistakes that Vince McMahon made. Why do we have to go through all this overly convoluted roads in order to get to the destination that is as clear as day. It's simple as simple can be. Why don't you just give LA Knight the United States title to begin with instead of putting him in a match against Roman where he's clearly not going to win? Am I losing my mind here? Seriously, am I losing my mind? If LA Knight does not walk out of Saudi Arabia with the championship, this is a waste of time, and LA Knight is ruined. And then I got people telling me that, oh, what about LA Knight winning via a disqualification or a countout? I'm going to say this once and once only. Championship matches, especially championship matches on a pay-per-view, and in general, should never end in a disqualification. That is undoubtedly one of the worst creative ways to end a championship match. There should be no such thing as a disqualification in a championship match. 99% of the time, there should never be a countout finish either. There is a 1 in a million type of chance. The last time that we had a championship match that ended via countout and it was the right call was when Chad Gable beat Gunther via countout on Raw 2 months ago. And before that, I can't even remember the last time that a championship match ended in a countout and it was the right decision. Maybe 5 years ago. The last time, minus Chad Gable and Gunther, was probably 5 years ago when AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura had their feud for the WWE title, and it was in Saudi Arabia, and it was a double countout. It was a double countout between Styles and Nakamura at the Greatest Royal Rumble, I believe it was, which was the first ever Saudi Arabian show. That I had no problem with. That was fine. That one was fine. But outside of that, outside of those two scenarios, which are literally 5 years apart, 99% of the time, championship matches should never end in a countout. And 100% of the time, championship match should never end in a disqualification. That is one of the laziest ways to end a championship match that I've ever seen. Championship matches, 99.99999% of the time, should always end via pinfall or submission. Or, if you want to make things even more interesting, you should have a championship match end via a TKO, where someone chokes out somebody else. That is how you should end the championship match. There should be no such thing as a championship match ending in a DQ. And 99% of the time, no such thing as a chance of a match for a title ending via countout. LA Knight and Roman Reigns should have never been booked. This match should have never been booked because whether you want to admit it or not, this is factual information. This is why I always say I speak objectively, not subjectively, and you're going to have to get that through your thick skulls. LA Knight is going to be knocked down several pegs with this loss. This will not elevate LA Knight. I'm sorry. It will not. And if you think it will, you are a complete moron. You are a mindless inbred. Moving on here. We had Montez Ford and Santos Escobar. Solid little match right here. And it ultimately resulted in Santos Escobar losing. Montez Ford got the win. I didn't have an issue with that. Whatsoever. Because if you're asking me, the faction of Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits should not be losing. Should not be losing whatsoever. Because in the end, if you want to build up a credible faction, then you keep them looking strong. Ultimately, I do believe that this is going to result in Carlito getting involved because he came out with a chair afterwards, and Carlito is ultimately going to fight Bobby Lashley. I'm glad that Carlito's on SmackDown. That much I will say, but I really don't have too much faith that they're going to do right by him. I don't know why. It's just a feeling in my gut. Brawling Brutes attacked pretty deadly in the spa. I actually laughed at this. John Cena came out to address the crowd. He actually contemplated retirement because it's been over 2,000 days since he's actually gotten a win. His last win on pay-per-view was 2018. He's been talking a whole lot about retirement, and it's time that we all face facts. It's been a long time since I had a win. The crowd was chanting, "You still got it." Cena said that he still believes in himself, and he said that the next person that walks out of that curtain is going to get smoked. It turned out to be Solo Sikoa. Jimmy Uso came out. It was a 2-on-1 beatdown, and then all of a sudden, a masked men came out of nowhere, and it turned out to be Jey Uso. Jey Uso attacked Jimmy Uso, which obviously is setting up their match at WrestleMania. Cena then with an AA to Solo, and it seems as though that Solo and Cena is all but confirmed for Crown Jewel, which I have no problem with at all. The only thing I had a problem with in this segment is the fact that WWE, and this was clear as day, WWE clearly used Cena's retirement as a cheap means of developing a story after what happened on Wednesday. Cena's retirement speech was not genuine. It was not genuine and it was not real. And WWE legitimately tried to copy what AEW did with Sting on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Sting was speaking from the heart and Sting was being open, real, and genuine. Very, very poor booking decision by WWE. So after that, Logan Paul came out and he called out Rey Mysterio, talked about his win against Dylan Dennis. Rey Mysterio then came out and Logan Paul said that Rey has respect. I don't want that. Rey has legacy. I'm building one of my own, but you do have the United States title and that I do need. So he said that you remind me a lot of my son Dominic, said Rey Mysterio. Natural ability, passion, incredible career ahead of you, but a big mouth. And I think that you need some humbling. Last time I fought Dom, I was a little reluctant, but I will not hesitate to beat your ass. Rey Mysterio accepted the challenge, and Logan Paul said, "Buena suerte, amigo." And shockingly, I actually thought that we were going to get a little slap or a little jab. Shockingly, Logan Paul shook Rey Mysterio's hand clean. No slap, no kick, no punch, no nothing. So I don't mind this match. I would not mind Logan Paul winning the title. I actually think that this is what the title needs. But if you're asking me, probably the biggest con to come out of all of this is the fact that you elected to give Rey Mysterio the U.S. title to help build up Santos Escobar, and it ultimately is going to get swept under the rug. Santos Escobar is never going to get his moment, and Logan Paul is ultimately going to win the United States title. Stupid. Really, really, really stupid. Cameron Grimes and Dragon Lee, they took on Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Pretty basic tag team match right here, and it resulted in a victory for A-Town Down Under. That was pretty much that. Cameron Grimes and Dragon Lee, there's no excuse as to why they shouldn't be featured on TV prominently. They need to be featured on TV more often. Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar, they are set for action next week against the Street Profits. And LA Knight and Roman Reigns are set for a contract signing. Should be good. Main event, it was Io Sky and Charlotte Flair. And even though I cannot stand Charlotte Flair, I will not discredit her. She put on a great match. It was a great match, and it had the right outcome. However, I do have some things to say about the outcome. But the match itself was great. So, Io, she took it to Charlotte with a tope suicida. Charlotte then took over with some chops. Coming back from commercial, Io with a sunset flip powerbomb for a 2. Crossface, but Flair got out. Wheelbarrow German suplex by Charlotte. Fallaway slam connects. Exploder suplex as well. Flair then carried Io up to the middle rope and delivered an avalanche Samoan drop for a 2. Very nicely done. Charlotte then with a Boston Crab, but Io reversed it. Charlotte then looked like she was hurt. She looked like she injured her knees. We had a moonsault, but the feet were up. We had a spear. Bayley then put Io's foot on the ropes, and Flair punched out Bayley. She then took her and threw her over the announce table, Dakota Kai caused a distraction. Io Sky, we didn't see this, but she had the belt right by her chest. She had the belt by her chest, and Charlotte Flair, as she went for the spear, she ended up driving herself head first into the championship, which was actually a very creative way to end it. And then Io pinned her. Charlotte was knocked out. Io pinned her 1, 2, 3, and Io Sky retained the women's championship. After this, we had a beatdown, which resulted in Bianca Belair making her return after just a little over 2 months of being away. It was an all-out melee, and Bianca Belair then ended things with the KOD, and that was it. Now, first of all, Charlotte Flair and Io Sky, they killed it. Very good main event. The two meshed very, very well together. Very nicely done. That much I will say. It's good to see Bianca Belair. It's very good to see Bianca Belair again. However, her babyface run has just been so stale. I really do hope that at some point it's going to result in a heel turn for Bianca. I really do. Because as we speak right now, Bianca Belair, I just don't feel anything when she comes out. She's just blah. But the one thing that I really want to touch upon, and this is not a positive. This is not a positive. Matter of fact, this actually got under my skin a bit. It actually pissed me off. Charlotte Flair, without a shadow of a doubt, is the most overly protected women's wrestler in the history of this business. And I cannot stand it. I really don't understand why it is so difficult to have Charlotte Flair lose clean. The amount of people that have beaten Charlotte Flair clean throughout her career, the amount of people that have beaten her clean, I can legitimately count on one hand. And I'm not talking about these rinky-dink Monday Night Raw matches and these SmackDown matches. I'm talking about a big-time championship match. I'm talking about a big-time matchup on a major pay-per-view or a show like this. I am talking about championship matches when all the marbles are laid out for the taking. When everything is laid out on the table, Charlotte Flair never loses clean. The only 3 people that I can honestly tell you that have beaten Charlotte Flair clean were Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Rhea Ripley. Outside of that, it is unbelievable. It's nauseating, actually. It is unbelievably nauseating how overly protected Charlotte Flair is. Whether it be her foot on the ropes, someone else was distracted, whether it be she ran headfirst into a championship. It is exhausting. It is exhausting, and I'm sick and tired of WWE constantly finding new ways to manipulate Charlotte Flair back into the championship title scene. And people wonder why I hate her. People wonder why I hate her. And she knows it. She knows it, but she won't say anything. Not a bad show for SmackDown, though. Not a bad show. Not a bad show. But ultimately, I can't really sit here and tell you that, oh yeah, it was overly exciting. It wasn't. Rampage was actually better. Rampage was actually better. Rampage was actually a very good wrestling show. And if anything, what's even more pathetic is that Rampage had more wrestling than SmackDown did. Rampage is a 1-hour show. It had 33 minutes of wrestling. Meanwhile, SmackDown barely had 30. It's unbelievable. There's something wrong with that. Something majorly wrong with that. The show kicked off with easily the best match of the night, Rocky Romero and Mystico. And if you guys don't know who Mystico is, he is the former Sin Cara. This was a 2 out of 3 falls match to decide who is pound for pound the best Mexican wrestler. And it looks like a partnership with CMLL is going to be in the long-term future of Tony Khan, and that is a great thing to see. That I love. That I think is great. So, the match itself, overall, great. Great match, 20 minutes, awesome stuff. And if you guys have the opportunity, I would highly encourage you, go out of your way, watch Mystico versus Rocky Romero. You will not regret it. So, Mystico, he took over with a corkscrew dive. The crowd was chanting Mystico. Mystico scored the first fall with a sitting octopus, and Rocky Romero ended up tapping out. That was the first fall. Rocky then sent Mystico into the steps. Rocky then tore at the mask of Mystico. Coming back from commercial, Rocky Romero with the rapid-fire clotheslines, Mystico with a head scissor, crazy arm drag, and a suicide dive by Rocky. Rocky then with a sliced bread, standing running sliced bread, and Rocky Romero ties up the score. It is now 1-1. After the second commercial, Mystico dove over the post with a crossbody onto Rocky. Rocky then he tried, I believe, for a dive, but he missed it. And then Rocky, he caught a power slam by Mystico for a 2. We then had a very nice avalanche sliced bread by Rocky. Mystico kicked out. Mystico then with the avalanche Spanish fly, but Rocky kicked out. Rocky Romero was then at the mercy of Mystico. He caught a Canadian destroyer and then a tilt-a-whirl into the arm drag, the Fujiwara armbar. It was locked in deep. And in the end, Mystico ends up tapping out Rocky Romero, and Mystico wins a great match. And according to the feedback, it looks like Tony Khan has got himself yet another partnership, and I am all for it. Very, very, very much looking forward to this partnership going forward. And this was my first time seeing Mystico in nearly a decade. He was terrible in WWE, but man, I was watching him here. He's 40 years old, Mystico. 40 years old, and he looks fantastic. He looked better in this one match than he did his entire WWE run. And that's saying something. So after that, Eddie Kingston, he had a segment with Jay Lethal and Jay Lethal's posse. And Jay Lethal, he was really getting in the face of Kenny Omega. Really, not Kenny Omega, Eddie Kingston. I don't know why I said Kenny Omega. He was really getting in the face of Eddie Kingston, saying that he'll never live up to what Homicide was as Ring of Honor World Champion. Jeff Jarrett then called him a Bronx bitch. And then Eddie Kingston took the mic. He looked at Lethal and he said, "You never mention Homicide's name again." He then looked at Jeff Jarrett and he said, "You don't think I know about Memphis-style wrestling and these concession stand brawls? Dog, I grew up on that. Listen to me, you hillbilly bitch. Tomorrow, I am going to eat you alive." I have been very vocal about Jeff Jarrett, and I've said that Jeff Jarrett should not, and I'm telling you, he should not be on TV in a consistent role. Matter of fact, Jay Lethal is actually suffering from not being on his own. But I do have to admit, this was a great promo. I do have to admit, the intensity was there. It felt real. It felt genuine. And everyone came off very, very well. I'm not going to lie. It was a very good promo. It was a very good promo. And ultimately, it actually got me excited for the match tonight. Even though I'm not going to see it live, I'll see it later. But ultimately, this was a very good promo. My stance on Jeff Jarrett still doesn't change. But in the end, I can't really sit here and bash the promo. It was a very good promo. We got ourselves a decent little triple threat match. It was Kip Sabian, John Silver, and Brother Zay. This was a number one contenders match to see who was going to fight Orange Cassidy tonight at Battle of the Belts. And Brother Zay, he came in with a drop kick and a suicide dive, but Sabian caught him with a punch. Coming back from commercial, Brother Zay with a springboard moonsault taking out John Silver. We had a slingshot stunner on Sabian. That got a 2. Silver, he then military pressed Sabian into Brother Zay, delivered a German suplex on Kip Sabian. That got a 2. Sabian then with the Arabian moonsault on Silver. Brother Zay then dove over the top rope, taking out the Dark Order and the Butcher and the Blade. We had a Swanton Bomb by Sabian, on Sabian. Swanton Bomb by Brother Zay on Sabian. It looked like Isaiah Cassidy was going to win it, but John Silver out of nowhere came in and punted Brother Zay right in the skull, and John Silver gets the victory, and he will fight Cassidy for the International Championship. And one thing I will say, one thing I do appreciate is the fact that they're not just giving away random title matches. They're actually doing number one contenders matches. I appreciate that. I want to see more number one contenders matches. We had a number one contenders match to see who was going to fight Eddie Kingston, and we had a number one contenders match to see who was going to fight Orange Cassidy. I want more of that. I want more of that. Keep doing that. So, Silver was the right outcome. Silver was easily the right outcome. No reason why anyone but John Silver was going to win, because Silver is the best match for Orange Cassidy. And Silver, he put on a great match a couple of years ago during the pandemic over Darby Allin, and that was a great match for the TNT title. So if you're asking me, I think him and Orange Cassidy are going to kill it. We then had Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta versus Brian Keith and Exodus Prime. Really a nothing match right here. This was simply to get Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli another win, leading up to their tag team title match tonight. Next week on Rampage, I'm looking forward to this. We got Mike Santana and Ortiz. Mike Santana and Ortiz, this is going to be one hell of a match on Rampage. I hope that they continue it going into Full Gear. I actually hope that they continue it going into Full Gear. And I'm glad that they've given Mike Santana and Ortiz the ability to go out here on Rampage. They put some more focus on Rampage, and they're actually generating some stories. You got Mike Santana and Ortiz generating some story on Rampage right there. You got some number one contenders matches sprinkled in. We got a very good promo with Eddie Kingston and Jay Lethal's posse. I like that. I just wish that they didn't really need to overstuff the show. I really wish that they didn't put 4 matches on the show. That's the one thing that I wish I would change about Rampage. You don't need 4 matches on the show. 3 matches is enough. And then in the main event, we had Sky Blue and Ruby Soho. I don't want to take anything away from Ruby Soho or Sky Blue, but this was not the match to put in the main event. You should have put Mystico and Rocky Romero in the main event. That should have been the main event. They didn't do that, and they decided to have Rocky and Mystico kick off the show. But ultimately, the match wasn't bad, but it did not have any heat going into it. It did not feel like a main event match. I'm sorry, it didn't. So Soho ended up getting the win here. Sky Blue was still good at what she does. Soho ended up getting the win here after Saraya hit Sky Blue with the spray can. Afterwards, we had Chris Statlander coming out to make the save, but Sky Blue, she rejected Chris Statlander's offer and ultimately walked away, and that was pretty much it. Not bad. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was bad, but if you're asking me, this is not something that I'm going to invest in long term, and it's certainly not something that I'm going to go back and rewatch. I would gladly go back and watch the Mystico Rocky Romero match, and I highly encourage everyone here to do so as well. But the main event wasn't horrible. I've seen much worse matches, but there was just no energy behind it. Not a bad episode of Rampage, though. Not a bad episode of Rampage whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been going a long time, but that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. You guys were awesome all stream. Thank you very much. Thank you to Mr. James Punaseca. Thank you to Dylan. Thank you to the Final Hoss. Thank you very much to Lisa. Thank you very much to Maria. Thank you very much to Sam Watts. And thank you very much to Adam Carl. You guys have been great, and I cannot wait to be back. I cannot wait to be back next week for another episode of the LFU. And then in November, starting November 2nd, we are going to be going almost every single Thursday and almost every single Saturday and Sunday too. We're going to be having rundowns. We're going to be having rewinds. We're going to have a World of Wrestling, LFUs. It is going to be packed throughout the month of November, and these watch hours should be boosted up tenfold. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys are great. Thank you very much. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash Update. But before we get out of here, people, you got to tell me who runs the IWC. And I think you already know the answer to that. Who but DJ Storms. Don't you ever forget it.
'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.